Good evening and welcome to Sunset News on this Monday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather, and sports. I am Glenora Shipura. Getting into the news tonight, the Namibia Students Financial Assistance Fund has only recovered 18.2 million Namibian dollars, less than 1% of the total student debt at the end of its 2024 financial year, highlighting an ineffectiveness in collecting outstanding loans and raising concerns over its ability to meet its strategic objectives. According to Auditor General Junius Kanjeke, the majority of student debtors are several years in arrears, and records fail to show that the students have been contacted as required to address the defaults or establish the reasons behind delayed payments. The fund does not have approved standard operating procedures/procedure manuals, despite having adopted the International Public Sector Accounting Standards Framework for the financial period, the 31st of March 2022 to 2024. Additionally, there are SOPs which are still in draft phase and have not yet been approved and adopted by the fund. Kanjeke revealed in the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of NASFA for the financial year ended 31st of March 2024, the SOPs are outdated and were last revised in 2017. Some of the reference employees may have resigned, for example, the previous CEO, CFO, and accountant cited therein. SOPs issued do not clearly rather describe the process flow from initiation until the recording phase, he added. The financial statements comprise the statements of financial position, statement of financial performance, statement of changes in equity, statement of cash flow for the years then ended, and a summary of significant accounting policies. In my opinion, except for the effects of the matter described in the basis for qualified audit opinion paragraph, the financial statements present rather fairly in all material respects. The financial position of the Namibia Students Financial Assistance Fund for the financial year ended the 31st of March 2024 and its financial performance and their cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Public Sector Accounting Standards, Kanjeke wrote. Kanjeke added that all debtors who meet the definition of default have been provided for at year end. The fund tolerates a higher credit risk due to its mandate to provide financial assistance to students from poor backgrounds. Out of more than 120,000 debtors awarded, only 1,400 are actively repaying their loans. In particular, the following information has been considered when assessing the credit default risk loss allowance: debtors' economic activity, credit risk ratings, and date of initial recognition, Kanjeke further noted. Getting into our next story, the University of Namibia's Ogongo campus marked a milestone in agricultural innovation and community transformation at the 2025 annual Rice Harvest Festival recently, under the theme promoting seasonal wetland rice production among smallholders for sustainable livelihoods. UNAM Vice Chancellor Kenneth Matengu said, "The festival celebrates not only a successful rice harvest, but also tangible strides towards food security, rural empowerment, and climate resilience. This year, nature blessed us with abundant rainfall. While these pose challenges in some areas, it also reminded us that rice, a water-loving crop, is a key to unlocking economic and nutritional stability," Matengu said. He reported a steady increase in rice yields, with cultivated areas expanding from 4.1 hectares in 2024 to 6.7 hectares in 2025. Production is expected to jump from 15 to 19 tons, thanks to support from Deb Marine Namibia. The campus poultry hatchery has also seen exponential growth, now producing over 5,000 chicks annually, up from just 370. Matengu held the enduring partnership with the government of Japan through JICA and Depmarine Namibia, which have helped turn the Ongongo campus into a national hub for wetland agriculture and sustainability research. Here, research meets practice. Students, farmers, and school learners are empowered with the tools and knowledge to thrive in a changing climate, he said. Matengu emphasized that agriculture today is more than just subsistence. It is a science, a business, and a technology. This is your moment, he said, also encouraging learners to apply for the 2026 academic year. Health Minister Dr. Esperance Luvindao said Namibia's long-awaited mental health bill is in its final stages and the revised draft will be resubmitted to the Justice Ministry this week for legal finalization. Addressing the National Assembly last week in response to a question by Popular Democratic Movement MP Winnie Mongo, Luvindao outlined a broader strategy to overhaul the country's mental health system. She confirmed that all outstanding issues raised during a March 2024 workshop with legal drafters have been addressed. Their inputs were incorporated into the draft. Once resubmitted, the legal drafters will determine whether any additional matters require attention before the bill is tabled. She added. Now, beyond the legislative framework, Luvindao emphasized the ministry's intention to implement a mental health strategic plan 2025 to 2030 in collaboration with development partners such as the World Health Organization. This will run concurrently with the ministry's overarching 5-year strategic plan. This plan will guide us in securing funding, developing infrastructure, and procuring essential clinical products, she said. It will also allow us to determine the number of new mental health facilities required across all 14 regions and propose budgets for renovations and upgrades. As part of efforts to close existing human resource gaps, the ministry has already identified mental health focal persons in each region to provide in-service training for healthcare workers. Luvindao noted that the ministry is actively working to improve its staff establishment in mental health units and acknowledged that mental health staffing remains a critical national concern. The ministry confirmed the involvement of a legal expert in finalizing the bill and drafting associated regulations. Luvindao praised Mongo for her dedication to advancing mental health reform. The ministry's plan is not just about passing legislation, she said. It's about building a foundation that will allow our healthcare system to provide dignified, accessible, and quality mental health care for all, she added. Moving on, the Namibia Library and Information Council recently inaugurated its 7th council at the Goethe Institute in Windhoek. The ceremony, officiated by Deputy Minister of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture, Dino Balotti, brought together key players from the library and information sectors. The event celebrated the council's continued commitment to advancing access to information, preserving knowledge, and supporting library developments across the country. The program began with opening and welcoming remarks by Mbumba Erastus Haitengela, Executive Director and Accounting Officer of the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture. Haitengela underscored the importance of libraries in empowering communities and fostering national development. This was followed by an overview of Namibia's libraries and information centers presented by Sarah Nehumbo, Director of the Namibia Library and Archives Service. Nehumbo also introduced the newly appointed NLIC members, emphasizing the Council's role in shaping policy and driving innovation in the sector. Delivering the keynote address, Deputy Minister Dino Balotti highlighted the government's dedication to improving information services and ensuring equitable access to knowledge. The program concluded with a vote of thanks by Joseph Dinoshiho, who will now serve as the NLIC chairperson from the duration of 2025 to 2027. Dinoshiho expressed appreciation for the collaborative efforts of all stakeholders. That concludes our top stories. On the other side of this, we will be taking a look at the story of the day. Getting into the story of the day, Green Hydrogen Commissioner James Nupe elaborates on expectation for this year's second Global African Hydrogen Summit, scheduled for the 9th to the 11th of September in Windhoek. Along with the Namibia Investment Promotion Development Board, organizers DMG events intend to make this year's occasion even more special than the initial summit held in 2024. Let's have a look.
Give you a bit of a taste of the work that we do, and therefore what may be showcased in September when all of you and all of your friends from around the world come to visit Namibia. So of course, last year, according to data from DMG, we ended up hosting more than 1,500 people and 500 registered delegates and 20 ministers and deputy ministers from around the world. And this year, of course, we're hoping to do even better with more than 1,500 people already requesting for close cooperation, and they're coming from 70 different countries. So really, it is a global and an African hydrogen summit. And of course, we take a lot of encouragement, excitement, courage from our South African brothers and sisters who hosted a hydrogen summit not just a few weeks ago. And there we did see that, of course, it's tough, right, to try and get hydrogen going. But what is then even more encouraging is that the work that we're doing at the Namibian Hydrogen Program is relevant, right? Because these things won't happen on their own. They will need encouragement. They will need partners from around the world. They'll need courageous young Namibians as well.
Speaking of developments, Namibia is partnering with an Austrian company to establish a $400 million pipe manufacturing plant in Walvis Bay. More on this in our economic news, coming up shortly. The Namibian government, through the Namibia Industrial Development Agency and bulk water supplier NamWater, is partnering with an Austrian company to establish a $400 million pipe manufacturing plant in Walvis Bay. The company AMI-Blue, which is Austrian headquartered and specializes in the design and production of glass fiber reinforced polyester pipes, is the investor in the multi-million-dollar deal. The agreement is alleged to mark a significant step in boosting Namibia's industrial capacity. NIDA's acting chief executive officer, Ritual Lukonga, confirmed the pipe plant deal to Namibian Sun this week, adding that the three parties, NIDA, NamWater, and AMI-Blue, have already signed a non-disclosure agreement. What is important right now is to understand that NIDA is an investment agency. Excuse me. We have investors that have been coming into the country over the years, so we should embrace the opportunity, Lukonga said. Now, according to him, NIDA's contribution to the joint venture is a 5-hectare plot of land at Walvis Bay where the plant will be built. NIDA has identified a portion of land to establish one of the biggest manufacturing plants in Namibia. A groundbreaking ceremony is expected to take place later this year. The project is valued at close to $400 million. This is not a small investor. AMI-Blue has been in operation for years. We will be shareholders in the venture, he explained. Lukonga added that the investment aligns with NIDA's industrialization mandate. We will create jobs and we will benefit from dividends payouts and so many other opportunities. AMI-Blue is recognized for its Hobart and flow-tight GRP piping systems, which are utilized worldwide in sustainable water and industrial infrastructure. The company has manufacturing operations in Germany, Spain, Poland, and Romania. The company also has a footprint in Africa, where it manufactures pipes in Morocco. In our next economic news story, the Mine Workers Union of Namibia has dispersed more than $800,000 Namibian to member-led small businesses through its named SME fund, signaling a strategic shift towards economic empowerment as a core union function. The fund was a central focus of MUN's Western Regional Roundtable held in Swakopmund on Wednesday. Now, the engagement, part of a national series, brought together union leadership and grassroots members to exchange views, address worker concerns, and promote awareness of the union's broader socio-economic initiatives. Established in 2024, the NAMIT SME Fund supports entrepreneurial ventures by current and former members. A total of 54 applications have been received to date, with MUN officials confirming that uptake continues to grow as more members seek support beyond traditional industry matters. Nicholas Afrikaner, MUN Western Regional Chairperson, said the union must adapt to support its members across all stages of life. Some still believe the union is only there during strikes or salary negotiations. That narrative must change. Empowering members economically is part of our broader mission, he said. Rebecca Bengela, MUN's National Secretary, said the fund reflects the union's intent to improve everyone's livelihood. That concludes our economic news. We now move over to the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades against the British pound at 24.29, against the euro at 20.77, against the US dollar at 18.02, $2 Namibian and 51 cents gets yuan, Chinese yuan. On the commodities market, gold, copper, and platinum went up while Brent crude oil went down, trading at 3.04%, going for $76.80 per barrel. On the other side of this, we will be taking a look at our international news. Getting into our international news, Israel struck Avian prison in northern Tehran on Monday, a potent symbol of Iran's governing system in what Israel called its most intense bombing yet of the Iranian capital, a day after the United States joined the war. Iran repeated earlier threats to retaliate against the United States, but it had yet to so in a meaningful way, more than 24 hours after U.S. bombers dropped 30,000-pound bunker busters on its underground nuclear sites, while U.S. President Donald Trump openly mused about overthrowing the Iranian government. Oil prices barely budged on the first trading day after the U.S. joined the war, suggesting traders doubted Iran would follow through on threats to disrupt oil supplies from the Gulf. Iran's IRIB state broadcaster released a video showing rescue workers combing flattened wreckage of Evian prison, carrying a wounded man on a stretcher. The Mizan news outlet of Iran's judiciary said urgent action was being taken to protect the health and safety of inmates. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar posted a video on X showing an expulsion at a building with a sign identifying it as an entrance to the prison. Narrators could not immediately verify the video posted by Saar, although other videos showing the aftermath were verified as genuine. Evin has been the primary prison for housing political detainees and security prisoners, notably since Iran's 1979 revolution, and the site of executions that remain potent symbols for the opposition. It is where several high-profile foreign prisoners are also held. Israel's military said Israel had also struck Revolutionary Guard command centers responsible for internal security in the Tehran area. The IDF is currently striking with unprecedented force regime targets and governmental repression bodies in the heart of Tehran, Defense Minister Israel Katz said in a statement. There were conflicting reports on Iranian media about the full extent of strikes on Tehran, a city of 10 million people, where much of the population has fled after 10 days of bombing. Tasnim news agency reported a strike at an electricity feeder station in the Evin neighborhood. Power company Tavernier reported some areas in the capital that saw electricity cuts. We'll now take a look at our sports news, courtesy of Sportswrap.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with tennis news first. It is tennis from the Queen's Tournament in London, and it's Carlos Alcaraz that showed he can play on all surfaces. That we knew already. He won a few times on clay, on hard court and on grass, and this time he won the Queen's Tournament in London. That was on grass. He beat Jiří Lehečky in the final. That was a tough game, 7-5, 6-7 and 6-2. So that is Carlos Alcaraz. That just indicates he will be a strong contender for Wimbledon that starts later in July. Also in soccer news is Manchester City that booked their place in the quarter-final. That is in the Club World Cup Soccer Tournament that's been played in America. And an impressive big win for them against Al Ain. They from the United Arab Emirates. Manchester City winning that game by 6-0. And in Group G, it is both Manchester City and Juventus safely through to the quarter-finals. They still need to play each other later in the week. Also good performance by our South African team, that is Sundowns. They went down 4-3 to Dortmund, a high-profile team, but Sundowns still have a chance to advance to the quarterfinals later in the week. Then into golf news, it was Keegan Bradley that won the PGA Travelers Championship. That was played in Texas, and it was a tight finish in the end. He beat Briton Tommy Fleetwood by 1 stroke. That was 15 under that Bradley finished. He had a closing 68 in his 4th round, and it was Tommy Fleetwood in 2nd place on 14 under par. And also tied with Fleetwood was Russell Henley. And other notables in the tournament that did well was Scottie Scheffler. He's the world number 1. He was 6 under par, and then Rory McIlroy was 12 under par, and that is PGA Golf. And then also it was the Women's Tour, and there it was Australian Minjee Lee. She claimed the PGA. That's a major title, 3rd major title actually that Minjee Lee won, and she won the PGA Championship in the United States. She finished on 4 under par. Difficult conditions in the 4th round, lots of windy conditions, and she was 3 shots ahead of Austin Kim on 1 under par in 2nd position. And some of the notables that also world number 1, Nelly Korda. She had a tough last round. She was tied for 19th on 6 over par. So that was the PGA won by 29-year-old Minjee Lee. And she won that tournament in Texas. So that is international sports news for today. I hope you have a great sport day. We talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
And with that, we have come to the end of the broadcast. Don't forget that you can catch Sunset News tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. on our DSTV channel 285, our GoTV channel 25, and on our website, oneup2.com. From me, Glenora Shipura. Until next time.